Okay, so every so often, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I'll call on my channel creator credit. There's quite a few people that I follow to kind of stay up to date on current events and politics, especially in that arena. So today, I want to give a shout out to this creator. I'll show you his channel. I'm a subscriber. His name is Hawk. He talked a little bit about sort of the current state of affairs between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party and their response to um, who looks to have won the mayoral race in New York. So, quick credit for this creator and also the problem that he's addressing that I want to talk about a little bit. See this right here? This is the question that I want to answer, but we'll listen to what Hawk says first, and then I'll get into it.
Democratic Party, the Republican Party is no longer a rational entity. The Democratic Party is, Jesus Christ. They're campaigning as hard against Zohran Mamdani in New York City as the racists and bigots on the right. And he's just like, hey man, maybe things should be affordable for the bottom 75% of the people in this country. And people who are in the bottom 75% of the country are screaming negative shit about him because he wants to tax rich people, and they're not rich people. It's like, it just feels to me like literally every single thing in this country is broken beyond repair. And I don't.
So I know the clip cut out a little bit there, but what Hawk was about to say is basically he's not sure how we fix this. I hear him that so much is broken, and it sort of feels like this country is coming back full circle to its sort of founding. Like he keeps referencing like what happened during the first 250 years, right? Like you have genocide of the American Indians, lots of broken treaties, displacement of people, lots of death, murder, rape, stealing land. Then you have slavery, you have mistreatment of lots of different types of immigrants that came here, lots of wars, including our own Civil War, which was, for the record, over, states' rights to maintain property rights over people. That would be slavery. I might cover another person's short video that I thought did a great job talking about how the parties switched ideologies, because that trips up conservatives a lot. But as for how we move forward because of where we are, I think we need to kind of reverse engineer the problems that cause division, that billionaires and multimillionaires, usually decamillionaires and above, that's sort of the sweet spot when they start having a lot more political influence. So I want to talk about how we sort of undivide a nation. So to me, I think one of the big problems is our media, right? Like a democracy is reliant on a well-informed populace. So one of the weapons of war that billionaires use to divide us up, and in my view, it is a form of intellectual violence, because there's an opportunity cost when you're spreading misinformation, disinformation, and I would argue weapons grade propaganda like we have on the Fox News Entertainment channel, which is what has been said in court by some of the high profile people that have been brought into court during the case involving the voting machines, blanking on the name of that one. So that's a serious issue. It's an opportunity cost because you're spreading misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda instead of facts, like a factual accounting of the news. Like there's always going to be some bias. We should be more honest about what bias is being presented. So let me talk about some solutions that I think would be helpful going forward. And I think we kind of have to do these things. Okay, so addressing the media. So I think it would be very helpful to use Fox News and other right-wing coverage as part of a media literacy training tool. So what I would suggest is we use examples like that. Like, I don't think they should be on the air anymore, to be perfectly honest, because they're not news. If they are to be there, they should have labels like this is entertainment and state the demographic they're after, who it appeals to. So, for example, like here are some today's top stories, and you could show 2 to 3 examples from each political perspective, from communists on the far, far left to the fascists on the far, far right, and everybody in between. So you would have a story being presented by a couple of communists, a couple of socialists, maybe anarcho capitalists, some progressives, some social democrats, some people that fall kind of in the middle, or they think they're in the middle, you know, conservatives or liberals, conservatives, and the like, all the way to the far right fascists. So, like, you can get an understanding of how people from different political persuasions view stories, which things that they emphasize, which things they prioritize, which kinds of things do they leave out, right? That informs the populace, and that is helpful. And then I think we should use a demographic analysis to target the audience the media message appeals to, so we can see who's included, but who's often missed in that group. And I think that's helpful too. And I think we should have court hearings to flag certain types of content. Like, I don't think it's helpful to have fascist content on the air. Fascism leads to a lot of death, usually, historically speaking. It's a death cult. Some people think communists are really extreme, but we actually haven't really seen any type of real communist society. Like, there's communist labeled societies, but most countries have mixed economies and mixed political ideologies that are sort of the dominant running the society. Stay tuned for another idea I have. Another point of division is we have these sort of class divides. We have these divides of sort of regional divides, like people that live in different parts of America have a kind of a different view of the world, and we need to bring everybody together. And there's this big gap of I'm most concerned with people that live out in rural areas that don't really get that much engagement with people that have more diverse cultures, have different political ideologies and affiliations, different skill sets, different types of dialogue and rhetoric. And it's just, they're, to me anyway, my understanding of them is they're not that connected to the rest of us. And I want to change that. So I have an idea for reconnecting America. I'd love to see this actually done as an experiment to see if it has the desired effect that I would like it to have, that I think it would have. So what I would suggest is some state-sponsored national vacations to diverse populaces, especially for people from red or rural districts. And that's meant to connect them. It's meant to, like, break down this, I think, often incorrect expectation or perspective of how those people live their lives, and to cut through some of the fear and some of the noise that is presented to them on TV by right-wing media. And again, a lot of our media is biased. I would argue most of it is primarily right-wing. It just depends on how far right it is. We don't really have a left media in this country. There's some people that are getting a lot more reasonable, but Americans don't really have a good perspective of what the left actually would sound like. They're hearing it now a little bit with the race with Zohran Mamdani, and like, he's a socialist, a democratic socialist, and his message connected. He listened to the people, and he came up with a policy platform and agenda and pitched it, and people were like, hell yeah, that's what I want. And I want more of those types of messages out there, and I want to break through the fear and anger that's emitted by people when you talk about socialism or communism or any other ideas that are on the left spectrum. The other idea is state-sponsored international vacations to diverse populations with strong social programs, strong community and social connections, walkable cities, and with people there that are ready to educate those individuals traveling there about how their government uses their higher tax revenues for the people. Because I think it's really important to break down this idea that we can't use the government to do great things for the people, because that's absolutely true. All across Europe, they have it better than Americans. In America, we have this weird idea that it has to be done under capitalism. And I just don't think, and I think we're seeing it, I just don't think that capitalism can solve the problems that all of us have. There's not a solution. It can't be profit based when you have less and less resources for the 75% of us that are just trying to live here to give, especially when the people, our bosses, are refusing to raise our wages sufficiently, while the people at the top take more and more and more. I'm going to get into that in a second. Okay, so next, the big thing that we have to talk about is taxation. So I think taxes should be prioritized based on the needs of the many instead of the unending greed of the very few. Like 20 years ago, we used to have like 40 billionaires. Now there's like 1,200, and they don't pay that much taxes. There's a million loopholes. There's a million ways they get to cheat on their taxes. There's tax shelters, tax havens. I think we need a global effort to stop all that stuff, because that's hurting everybody. And when they pull money out of the real economy, that makes the government have to put more into circulation, which drives up inflation. That's my understanding of it. I may not have that perfect. I admit I am not a tax expert, but that sounds like how that would work, right? Like if you have to print more money, it devalues the money that's in the system, and they send their money to tax shelters. They have lots of tax loopholes. They send it to the fake economy, like things like crypto and Bitcoin that have no transparency. As far as I know, we can't really track it. So that's a problem that I see. I want to see circulation of money in the real economy. I want to see more of regular people buying goods and receiving and paying for services in the local economy that gets distributed there repeatedly. And you form more, preferably small to mid-sized businesses. Enough of these gigantic corporations sucking up everything from everyone else. Like, you look what happens to any town where a Walmart comes in. Within 5 to 10 years, you see a lot of other businesses close up shop, and that's a problem, and I don't like that. So what I think needs to happen is we need a 2 to 5% wealth tax adjusted yearly for inflation for the top 10% of wealthy people. I say 2 to 5%. I think this needs to be adjusted based on whether we're hitting the objectives that we need to, and it should be a progressive tax. So the more money you have, the higher that percentage is going to be for you. Suck it up. All the rest of us keep having to fork over more and more taxes. We pay a higher percentage based on what we get. And then, and also, we don't have the opportunity to have a whole bunch of passive money being generated. And then we have, I suggest a 70 to 99% progressive marginal tax rate for the top 40% of earners for all income above $1.5 million per year. And then also, I said ban all tax loopholes and tax shelters globally as well as nationally. Next, we really need to push towards universal healthcare for all, free at the point of use. I think we should ban private insurance for all coverage other than purely non-essential elective surgeries. Like, I say you can pay for your own cosmetic Botox injections if it's just like for beauty. I also say, if it seems like you might have body dysmorphia, I would say cover your mental health treatment. Like, that would be included in universal healthcare, like all healthcare, with a big focus on primary and prevention care. So that way we have less use of emergency services, which are always like higher costs. And also, I think by the fact of just doing this, I believe there's already studies out saying that universal healthcare would cost Americans about 2.37, I think is it trillion dollars per year. But the current system, that sucks, and we still have to pay for the private insurance industry that's taking money off the top, and they deny care, that costs about $5.4 trillion per year. So we would have better care that we don't pay out of pocket for. And it's also better for businesses because that's a business expense that they don't have. We would just pay a little bit more in taxes, but the offset would save us money ultimately. And I think that should be for all care, mental health, right? Substance treatment, primary care, ongoing care, dealing with any substance issues, any addictions. Those are all like health problems, and we have to address those for you. We would save a lot of money, and we would be a lot more humane society. And I also don't think this should be tied to whether you're a citizen here or not. Most countries that you go to Europe, they're not going to refuse you. They're not going to go, hey, do you have insurance? They're going to treat you, and you're either going to have a bill, if you have a bill at all, or you'll have a very small bill, tiny expense. So, and we get rid of the unnecessary middleman that just make profits off of our suffering. And I think that's wrong. The other thing is, I think we need to have society servants, meaning like our representatives, our leaders who should be, I think they need to meet a higher bar to be our servants. I think they should be people that 9 out of 10 people would say, God damn, I admire that person. That's an amazing human being. That's somebody I aspire to be. Like, we have to get away from this low ass bar that we have right now. Like, we literally have a kakistocracy, and I think that's kind of messed up. So I think with this one, I think we need to have our civil servants teach the billionaires and decamillionaires the lessons that their parents did not teach them, apparently. So they need to learn how to take no for an answer. So no, no more tax dodging. No, no more private equity. No, more public subsidies to support poverty wages for your staff. No more owning homes, extracting rents from regular people and price gouging them out of their neighborhoods. No more taxpayer funded Superfund sites that we have to pay for the environmental damage that they do. I think that's wrong. That's a serious problem. No more campaign contributions. Sorry. Thanks for playing. We're getting money out of politics altogether. So this is no longer necessary. You don't get to buy policies that are just for you. We have to look at all of society. We have to serve the many over the needs of the few. It's not really the needs of the few, it's the greed of the few. We're not interested. Yeah, you guys have done quite well for yourselves. Many of, I think, need to do. I think actually anybody who's like made over over $10 million in wealth, I think they need to be forensically investigated to ensure that they earned their money legitimately, and they didn't hurt anyone else in the process. They didn't break the law or like pseudo laws that they do these little end arounds. And yeah, no more dodging taxes on doing things like real or fake charities or philanthropic projects. I say, screw you, you need to pay taxes. That's just where I'm coming from. So if you like what I'm saying, please leave a like, comment, favorite, share, hit all the buttons, subscribe if you're checking this out on YouTube. And as always, I really appreciate you guys. Okay, thanks.